Hey, this is Gareth and Bruce. This is our first attempt at a podcast.
We just don't know where it's gonna go. You got more of the gruff voice. I got more of the
Softer feminine voice.
screw you. Hey.
I don't know, I felt a little snobby when we hit 10 episodes.
Okay, that's an interesting question.
The two of us can be Vin Diesel. Gareth can drive like him. And I can
You
look
can
like
look
him.
Welcome to Spaghetti Junction. My name is Gareth,
My name is Bruce.
and we talk about things. We just don't know where they're gonna go.
Hello and welcome to the Spaghetti Junction podcast. My name is Bruce.
Give me a freaking fright. I'm Gareth.
And we talk about
Yo,
things.
we just
Don't
know where it's gonna go.
So,
Wow, I shat my pants.
So for the audience, sorry dude.
Damn,
So for the audience,
I'm awake.
because we're now filming, so a little bit of a behind the scenes thing about us filming is that we have to do like a little bit of a sound thing so that we make sure that the audio and the video in post-production gets edited by my man Gareth. And I clap at the beginning just to give a bit of a signal. And that one was a little loud.
I wasn't prepared for that.
Sorry, dude.
So I did a pretty good talking about our editing and filming and stuff. Unfortunately we can't give you like an exact day when they're coming out because sometimes the episodes so pretty much it takes a lot longer to edit now that we're being filmed. We have to align the video with the audio. And for example, with our last episode, which was about the 80s and 90s, that I actually, in fact, we watched it and had a really good laugh at ourselves.
It was cool.
I
I
enjoyed
was
it.
fantastic. And the nostalgia was off the charts.
And that took me, let's just say, a long time. And then to render it, which is basically, I'm taking everything with the pictures and the audio and the music behind all those extra stuff. To render it takes about between 4 and 6 hours.
Dude,
So I cannot tell you guys, unfortunately, when it's coming out. It's normally done midweek because work ends at like 9 o'clock for me at night, and then to even think of coming here and editing and stuff. So we're looking at the end of each week.
Yeah.
But sorry, like our recent one came out on Sunday. So today actually.
I think, and also just because of all these added visuals that we like to try and put in, we don't just want to watch. You don't just want to watch just two guys talking to each other. We want to put in some
something interesting,
some other visual stuff, videos, pictures, all of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Music, if we can.
Yeah.
YouTube.
There we go.
Then we'll try and do that for you guys. So
Yeah.
It actually looks the finished product looks really
I enjoyed
cool.
it.
So you did a great job, dude.
Blood, sweat, and a whole bucket full of tears.
I'm really interested to see the traction on that one. There's a lot of nostalgia.
Yes.
Hey,
I enjoyed it.
I mean,
like I'm even doing all the music. I was like, that's
Yeah.
the theme tunes and stuff.
Yeah.
Loved it.
yeah. So
Yeah, so that's the reasoning, and expect it when you expect it. Sorry guys, it should be end of each week the way that it's going. So even if you haven't seen anything in the week, don't worry, it's still in the plans.
cool.
And we had an extra subscriber, so thank you, number 27.
Yeah, nice one. Thank
We really
you so much
appreciate
for joining
you
the Spaghetti Junction
signing
podcast
up, yeah, man.
family.
And we're actually almost on a year.
That's insane. You told me that today.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
like,
it's not like right now, so don't get up and clap for us. Thank you.
easy, tiger.
Easy. But it's in a few weeks. It's in November, and we will be doing this for a year.
That's I'm blown away.
That's why these podcasts take time to get big.
That's it.
And I'm understanding it because
Yeah.
it takes 8, 9, 10 years or 5 or 6 years. But now I understand because you've got to start with the traction and just slowly move.
Just build it and build it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's coming up in a week or two. So yeah, just bringing up a bit of
Very cool. I think we got to do something special for that one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm tired. It's a year, dude. Woo! Yeah. Anyways.
You get those little poppers.
Yeah.
And then, great. Let's
And
go
we
on.
carry on, exactly. So exactly. So we'll try and remember that when it pitches up.
Awesome.
Yeah. So there has been a topic that we have wanted to talk about for quite a while. It's based on addiction, and what addiction is, and the various types of addiction. And while we did researching and so forth, we just found that one of the addictions, which is sex addiction, was one that had gathered a lot of traction in the sense of what people were saying about it. And I think so we were like, okay, this looks interesting. And we jumped into it. And I think it's really, I know I was saying to Bruce that one of the things that I felt would be interesting to really look at is sex addiction actually a real addiction? Or is it just, a reason for a guy, for guys to run around, and have a whole pile of sex and and then blame it on they have a sex addiction.
Yeah.
Or or like another thing. Oh, so you have a sex addiction? That's the best addiction ever. I've heard someone say that. Like, out of all addictions, that's the best addiction ever. Like, you just want to have sex.
I honestly don't think there's anything as cool about any addiction. Personally.
Thank you. Exactly. But for some reason, like, wow. And that was probably a guy saying, "Ooh, sex addiction, yeah."
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you don't understand what addiction is, and it's shitty from what we've gone. So, does that about sum it up?
I think so, and I think when we were chatting before we started, I think for a lot of people when they hear the phrase sex addiction, it is immediately a stigma and maybe a knee-jerk reaction.
Correct.
Where it's like you're just a perv.
Yes.
Whereas it goes a little deeper than that, and it can be problematic and very destructive for a lot of people, both men and women. This is not just a guy's thing.
Because
does it generally affect guys more than women, or is there
there's a high percentage of men? Yes.
Yeah, which I'm not surprised
because of the sex drive with guys.
We've got that. We're on all the time.
Yeah,
let's not even joke.
But it definitely does affect women,
yes.
And there are a number of help groups for this.
Yeah.
And one of them is around romance and and love and so forth. And I would imagine that a percentage of them is going to be worn. But yes, in a lot of the meetings, there are meetings for women because at times to have them merged in one group is so I don't know the ratios and stuff, but yes, I think because of the innate sex drive with guys, I think it affects. But it does affect both.
Yeah, and I'm not
100%.
I'm not surprised there are sort of gender-specific meetings as well, because that can.
Yes.
It's not just alcohol or drugs or anything like that. It's okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. Shoot away.
Well, yeah. Look, what I did is I kind of looked into just like some things on just addiction in general. But I did take this from a book that Gary Wilson wrote, and he wrote a book called Your Brain on Porn. So he specifically talks about porn addiction, which can definitely lead to. I wouldn't be surprised if having an addiction to porn would lead you down.
A porn addiction
path.
is actually is intertwined with a sex addiction.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised how it could lead you to other things.
It is linked. If you do have a porn addiction, that gets moved in, that is part of a sex addiction.
Yeah.
Because it's sexual and it's addicted to. So a porn addiction, if people don't want to use, the word sex addiction, but it is an actual labeled sex addiction because it's sexual and you're addicted to it.
Yeah, and that could be a gateway to go from fantasy to reality and all that. Yeah. Okay. So basically, So addiction is basically all centered around the reward system in your brain, and and we talk about the dopamine release. When dopamine, what I found out was it's more of an anticipatory substance. It gets released more in anticipation of doing something rather than in the actual act.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not too sure, but I think the serotonin is possibly what gets released when you sort of do something, whereas the dopamine would be what gets released when you decide to, I don't know, click on a certain website or something like that, and then that's where it maybe comes in.
Yeah. A lot of the time, before we carry on, I just need to mention to you guys that a lot of this, I have learned a lot from a friend of mine. His name is Kenneth Wilson. Okay. And let me just read a bit about him to you guys, and I will put a link, in our description, and I think we will be, adding links and phone numbers and stuff, if you have found, okay, wow, that's actually this, I know of somebody who might have this problem.
Yeah.
I would recommend Kenneth Wilson, and I've known him for years. So let me just do a quick write down of him, if that's okay.
Yeah, cool. Go for it.
Cool. So this is where it says here, Kenneth Wilson is a counseling psychologist registered with the Health Professions Council of South Africa. He was on the academic staff of the University of Witwatersrand, 1996-2005, and in this time he taught a variety of subjects, including psychotherapy and psychopathology. He was involved in the training of counseling psychologists at the university. He has run a private practice since 1995. His work includes child, adult, family, and couples psychotherapy, psychological assessments, and supervision of intern psychologists or lay counselors. He has published in the areas of social and community psychology, health psychology, psychopathology, and addiction. He has worked in the addiction field for 15 years and has consulted with numerous families and individuals regarding addictive behavioral problems. He was consulting psychologist at Houghton House, which, if you know about Houghton House, it's a big place it's a rehabilitation house, basically. At Houghton House Addiction Recovery, and he was the consulting psychologist at Self-Help Addiction Recovery Project, which is SHARP. And then in 2007 he founded Clean Start Wellness, a holistic wellness center offering a range of psychological solutions for problems in living. And 2013 he merged with Houghton House. He currently heads up the outpatient program, and over the last 5 years he has also developed an executive coaching practice. So I just wanted to bring that in, so when I'm talking about things, it's come from my conversations with Kenneth,
right? And
he has, as you can see, a very huge wealth of experience, and he also, and within the addiction field, he focuses a lot on sex addiction.
Right.
So what you're going to hear from me, which I already told you, which just so you guys know in advance, I'm just not saying random things, that appear in my head. This is the stuff that's in my many discussions with Kenneth, and I just wanted to bring it to the table.
Cool.
It was quite a long intro, but I just wanted to bring in point who Kenneth is and why what I'm saying is just not a...
Yeah.
Okay.
Something I meant to say, just when talking about sort of just addiction in general, is that for any sort of drug to be addictive, it has to have the ability to increase dopamine release.
It's the rush, basically.
And that's that rush, and that's how that's how heroin works, that's how cocaine works, that's how crystal meth works, and then also alcohol, and then also now sex addiction, porn addiction, all of that kind of thing. The brain doesn't actually care. The brain doesn't care if it's heroin or porn, as long as that dopamine gets released. That's what it.
Exactly.
That's what it's happy with.
Yeah, exactly. That's the addictive rush. Yeah, and a lot of the time, it's not the actual action that that is the rush. It's the build-up. It's
Yeah.
the planning. It's the thinking. It's the whole, for example, on sex addiction, for example, like somebody may want to, meet people, online,
Yeah.
and then meet them face to face because, they have a certain, what's the word? Fetish, for example.
Yeah.
And in general, it's like, more in their head, and
Yes.
it sounds nice and safe, but they don't really want to do it. But the addictive cycle brings in the planning and the whole idea of like, now I'm online, now I'm talking to them, now we're making plans.
Yes.
But as soon as it's in motion and it's going to start happening, a lot of that pre-planning, that whole, as you say, the endorphin rush. When the endorphin rush kicks out, I was like, shit.
Like, what am I
Someone's
doing?
coming to my house in 2 hours with whips and chains, or
The reality sort of kicks in.
whips and chains. I think again, I've just done it. In the sense that's the misunderstanding. Oh, sex addiction, whips and chains. No, that was just an idea.
Yeah.
It might be any kind of fetish, or it might just be that that the plan was to meet. For example, a guy wants to meet another guy, and he knows that that he is straight, but the whole planning and that's the rush.
Yeah.
But as soon as it comes out, like some guy who don't even know in COVID time has my address and is going to come to my house, knock on my door, and
Yo.
what the fuck am I doing?
And then obviously that sort of stark reality for a lot of people doesn't kick in, and then they go through with said activity sometimes as well. It's not just that, it's a lot of it comes down to actually going through with whatever they want to do.
It's called a moment of clarity. That is what is, which is what Kenneth was saying to me.
Right.
It's that moment of clarity where it's like, what the shit?
Yeah.
And you you have to have that. And if you don't, react it to the first time and you do the same shit, hopefully, it'll come to a point where you're having this moments of clarity. And then there's a phrase, a terminology which is called the rock bottom.
Yes.
As to like the rock bottom to an addiction in general, but the one which is what we're talking about now with the sex addiction. The rock bottom means like it's like the lowest you've ever been, the thing that you think you would never ever do. You've done it.
You actually went through with it,
and it's like
it wasn't just in your head; it became a reality, and you went through it.
And as you say, the moment of clarity, you just walk right past it,
and
you walk right past it again.
And then the moment of clarity comes after the fact.
Yes.
Not where it's like when you're right at the edge, and it pulls you back from the edge. You've fallen over the edge.
It's because you've walked past that moment of clarity so many times. It's just the noise.
Yeah. It's just okay.
And the thing with sex addiction is that a lot of the time, you will be doing something. Okay, and I know you're going to focus, but you'll be talking about the pornography side of things there.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, cool, a little bit. So, an example with that, is, a guy, with a sexual addiction problem, they'll go on and they'll watch, mild porn.
Yeah.
Then it gets boring.
Yes.
Because, it's been done so many times.
Yeah.
He's like, or she's like, what, this is kind of boring. Then you up the game.
Yeah.
And after a period of time, the person is now looking at some absolutely bizarre stuff.
Yeah.
And here's the kicker, when that rush is done, and you've masturbated or whatever it is, and all that rush is over,
then you realize,
you're like,
what the hell did I just do?
I'm looking at that?
Yeah. Like, what is wrong?
Like, what is wrong with me?
Yeah.
Like I would never, ever do that. But when the addiction kicks in and that rush is there,
there's no
you're
stopping
looking at stuff that, as we say, and you look back and it's like, I would not do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, like I say, it is in increments.
Yes.
It doesn't stay on base level. So for, a lot of guys and girls, they will, they will have that wall, meaning that's as far as I'm going into porn and I'm done. And that's how it is.
Yes.
And it's done.
Yeah.
For the addictive behavior and the addiction, you'll see there's a wall, I'm going to jump it.
Yeah.
Oh, now the wall's bigger.
Yeah.
I'm going to build a ladder.
That's it.
Oh, that wall's bigger. I'm going to fight. I'm going to buy a plane.
Yeah.
And then, that's the difference.
Yeah. So with what I've learned about, especially when it comes to like a porn addiction, or it's probably this could probably be for any addiction, that reward system in your brain slowly but surely gets desensitized.
There we go.
So if
Good
you're,
wording.
especially, and if we're being specific about this, maybe guy like you said starts off watching something fairly mild, softcore porn, whatever, and then that doesn't do it for him. He's not not responding physically like he should be. Let's keep it clean for YouTube. We are 20 minutes in, so
yeah, way. I think we're okay.
I still like to keep it clean. I can't bring myself to talk about this on YouTube. My mom might watch this episode.
Okay.
But
hello, Mom.
and and then that addict will then chase. He will then chase that response, and he will look for harder and harder stuff. A little bit, like you said, a little bit more perverse, a little bit more bizarre. Can start off very middle of the road, but then can start off going, and it also, what Gary Wilson was talking about was that dopamine can be released if something is shocking or surprising, or even when anxiety is felt.
Yeah.
So all of these things can, if you watch something that then causes you anxiety. Like it's maybe so bizarre that you're like, but no, suddenly there you get that release and you're like, oh geez, and it's like that boulder rolling down a hill. It just picks up speed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that to me was the side of the porn thing, and I think because guys especially. Guys especially have a sex drive that's pretty much always on, where it's just that is what it is. Our focus as organisms is to reproduce, and so when we
not even to
not even to reproduce,
no.
just the act,
it's
basically
just the sexual.
act. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, sorry,
yeah.
I'm just
No, absolutely.
not every guy's going. Yeah, I'm going to reproduce. No.
Yeah, no. We're talking just the other thing.
You're so funny. You can't say
I'm keeping it
anything
so
rude.
clean. I don't know.
Well, don't leave it to me then. Carry on.
And so it's not surprising that online porn specifically it's free, it's everywhere, it's accessible instantaneously, and what a lot of guys end up having, we basically have this unlimited access to unlimited sexuality. It's like it's right there, but it's all in our heads. It's not something physical. It's not like you're Genghis Khan and you've got 1,000 concubines being guarded by eunuchs that you can go and sleep with and extend your kingdom and impregnate each of them. Because we know that 90% of guys that'll never happen to. You're not going to have that, but you've got all of this stuff on your computer, and porn never says no.
Yep.
That's the thing. And it can be, and what I find is, what I've learned also, is that it's very much a sedation for a lot of guys. Guys can, they get onto porn sites and they do their thing, and then it's like, well, why do I need to even go out and try and form relationships?
Okay, but hold on. Sorry, we are going,
going
way off track here. Sorry.
That's where I also felt it can also go, and then possibly that can also be a...
Yeah, but that's not an addiction. We're not... if you're saying that they don't want to be part of a relationship, that's got nothing.
That's also true.
So I see where you're going, but that's
cool. Yeah, let's.
I just want to rein you back a little bit.
Yeah,
sorry. Yeah, no. It's not what you're saying is wrong. It's just it's not really.
Yes.
It's just not really helpful in the addiction side of things.
Okay, cool.
Is that all right?
Yeah,
sorry.
that's fine. That's fine, dude.
We're not having a problem. This is why we do what we do. It was good points, but we need to.
You've got some interesting points and a questionnaire.
Yeah, there's a few questionnaires that if you feel that you or someone that you love may have a sex addiction, there's actually a site, which I'll put onto our description. So I'm gonna, that will be helpful. So questions such as, does your preoccupation with sex interfere with life responsibilities or relationships? Have you given up important social, occupational, or recreational activities because you'd rather focus on planning or thinking about sex? Do you engage in sexual behavior that puts your health or safety at risk? That's a big one.
Yeah.
With addiction. Do you engage... when you would like to feel emotionally connected to a romantic partner, do you have trouble doing so? It is a big thing because, in going to what you're saying, the more that you get into, for example, pornography, or as an example, the more that you do it, you become totally, it can pull you away of real intimacy.
Yes.
And that's a big problem.
Yeah, correct.
Do you feel that it's difficult to stop sexual behaviors even when there are negative consequences? That's a big one too. As we were saying, that you can be doing things over and over and over again, even knowing what happened last time was hurt, and it was how you also know that you may have a problem is that when everything is done, whatever, sexual stuff is done and dusted, you feel instant shame. You feel shame, you feel guilt, and that's what, and that's really not what you should be feeling if you're having, good, healthy sex kind of thing.
Yeah.
Have you made repeated unsuccessful attempts to stop thinking about or engaging in sexual behaviors? Do you feel ashamed, there we go, or hide your sexual behaviors or fantasies from those important to you? Do you need greater variety or frequency to achieve the same excitement or relief? And that's what we were saying. And then one or two more questions. And again, I'll put this little thing on here. On our comments. Anyways, you know where it's going to go. Have your desires driven you to have sex in places or with people you would not normally choose? On the pornography side of things, does your use of pornography occupy large amounts of time and or jeopardize your significant relationships or employment? That's a big thing.
Yeah, it is.
And just one more, and there's a whole pile more. Have your sexual practices caused you legal problems? Or could your sexual practices cause you legal problems?
Yeah.
That is a blaring red, and that could end up in a rock bottom.
Yeah.
In fact, it will.
Yeah, sure. Oof. Yeah, it's scary where this stuff can kind of lead if it's not sort of nipped in the bud. And
there are a few groups as well, which you can, which are there to help the sex addict. I'm going to go through three of them. The one is known as Sex Addicts Anonymous, and it runs roughly the same program as Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous.
Right.
I'll just, read through very, very quickly one or two or three. There are 12 steps, which are also linked with all the addictions. And they're basically there to help you to get through, and to address your addiction in a healthy way.
Well, so it's sort of like a set out actual structured plan.
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you normally work through these with what is called a sponsor, someone who has worked through these 12 steps before,
Right.
and specifically within your type of addiction.
I see.
So there's things that the biggest one, when you first like sit down in a group and say, "Hi, I'm Gareth, and I'm a sex addict." Step one says, we admitted we were powerless over addictive sexual behaviors, that our lives had become unmanageable. Just that point, if you can get to a point saying, I'm actually powerless over this, and my life has become unmanageable.
Yeah.
I won't even, go more into it, because that's extremely clear. And then the end of the 12, when you work through them all properly, is having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to other sex addicts and to practice these principles in our lives. Sure. That's throughout. But yes, if you can say right now that you, admitting that you are powerless over addictive sexual behavior and that your life has become unmanageable, you're in the right place with this SAA. There's Sexaholics Anonymous, and they focus a lot more. I don't really know if it's their background, but it feels like it's more of a religious background,
Right.
where they see the problem as lust, and not as an addiction. Okay. And then there's one other one, which is basically called, just bear with me. It is basically called sex and love addiction. And here's some things, so basically sex and love addiction, those that suffer from love addiction have an overwhelming need to feel loved, often to their own detriment, and to the detriment of those that they love and care for them. They will go to extraordinary lengths to search out love or to please partners, even if it means compromising their own needs and well-being. Those that are affected may become obsessed with the idea of being in love. They may have numerous relationships or stay in destructive ones as they have difficulty being on their own. Over time, love addiction causes serious consequences to the individual. They are unable to find a balance or maintain a healthy relationship for any reasonable period of time. I didn't know much about this, and the more that I looked into it, was like, I didn't know that you could have a love addiction, but going through it, I'm like, wow.
Considering how human beings are built for relationship and for building families and being together and that kind of thing, I wouldn't, and I'm not surprised, because I'm glad I don't struggle with that. But I mean, as you can look into it, it's not what everybody goes through. It's an actual addictive. Sure. It's an addictive. Not detrimental. It basically breaks down a person. So it's not just. So don't get it mixed up with someone who says, I just don't want to be by myself. It's
no,
way more serious.
I don't want to be alone.
Yeah, no,
that's not the same thing.
Yeah.
It's it's an addictive cycle, and it speaks about being in relationships even though they are detrimental to you, even if they are hurtful and damaging, you'd rather be in there.
Yeah.
Because your addictive just wants you to be in a relationship, or wants to be in love. And that's way different than someone who sits down and says, I don't want to be alone.
Yeah, I'm lonely.
Or I think about sex too much.
Yeah.
There are increments.
Yeah, that's what I was saying to you also. I went through a period of my life where I thought maybe I had a sex addiction.
Yeah. And why did you say that?
I think I was a horny young guy, but I had been taught that kind of thing was actually a bad thing, through a lot of sort of religious indoctrination and that kind of thing, and I just sort of and it took me a long time to realize that what I was feeling was actually a normal, healthy sex drive that every guy actually has.
Yeah.
And it's I had issues with that for a long time.
Yeah.
And I had to sort of pull myself out of that and change things about myself. No one came to me and said, Bruce, we think you have a bit of a problem here. Yeah. It's like I looked at myself and I said, I've got a problem. I need to, because I could see where I might have been going.
Okay.
And thank goodness, because
Sure.
once I started pulling myself out of that, I actually felt such a weight lift off my shoulders, because I was breaking myself down so much, because you feel the guilt, shame, all of this kind of thing. Oh my word, I had a lustful thought.
Yeah.
And it becomes this mountain.
Yeah.
And then you just know it's that, and that became very unhealthy.
Yes.
Because you're repressing this all the time.
Yes. Now that's
no,
absolutely. And I guess if you had the addictive behavior to yourself, it would have gone another direction.
Exactly right. And so the freedom that I actually started feeling once I started accepting that this was actually a healthy part.
It wasn't an addiction.
It wasn't an addiction, and
I think
the relief from that.
That's a good point to put in there.
It was absolutely
that not
fantastic.
Every drive means that you're on it.
Yeah. So I would say I think if you're a young guy or a young girl, and you're possibly thinking that this might be something that you have, it might also be, depending where you're getting
I would say if you go back and listen to this podcast, and you'll see, is it a destructive behavior? It's very different just to saying I want to have sex, but my church says no. It's not even in the same ballpark. That's a healthy thing going on there. But if it's a destructive cycle that hurts you and hurts the ones around you, you have a problem. I want to bring up a story, from a chat, from my chats with Kenneth, and in fact, I heard, who did I hear it from? I don't think it was Kenneth. Anyways, there was a guy, with an addiction with a sex addiction problem, and you can see how this plays out. And so basically, he went out for a drive, at night, and and he met someone. I don't know exactly where. It wasn't completely kosher, anyways, and they had sex. And then it got to a point where I can't. Yeah, it got to a point, where he realized that, that it was a prostitute, and then he still, went ahead and, and had sex because, of that rush and drive was already there.
Yeah.
When everything finished, there was that realization which he said, okay, well, you owe me, whatever, $500, whatever. And he was like, well, I didn't know. And he had to phone his dad at 11 o'clock at night for him to come with money to where he was to pay before the pimp would let him out.
Damn.
Now, sure, that may happen to someone who's not a sex addict. Why I bring this across is because even though he knew at that point, okay, this is probably a prostitute, and I don't have that whole drive and the whole rush was there. At that point, your rationality just goes in the backseat.
Yeah, just short-circuited
it's like,
everything.
Boom, I'm doing this and I don't know, and bam, and then, because it's a whole endorphin rush. When that goes away, like, oh my gosh.
That's how it's
I put myself at risk.
Yeah.
I'm now with the pimp, and now I had to phone my dad at 11 at night.
Yo. Then your parents find out that you've actually just, done the deed with a prostitute. Oh, man.
And then he obviously ended up in the sex addiction rooms because,
Sure.
If it becomes unhealthy and dangerous and destroys relationships and lives, and it's dead, and it destroys your own life, and it damages everything.
Yeah.
That's where this part of the problem is. That's just one story out of it all.
Hell. Damn, these things go so quickly. There's so much more to talk about.
There is. You don't think we can push a little bit more?
I suppose we can.
Well, no, it's up to you. I'm not gonna.
Do you have a closing thought?
Oh my gosh, dude. I think if I can put it out to people that, what you've been hearing and the questions, on that questionnaire, and just what we've been discussing. And you can say to yourself, I have a problem, or I know someone close to me who I can see that this is just not a normal sexual, it's just, not your like normal, like, how can I say it? Like, it's not your, like a guy going out, having sex here and there and whatever.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's not the best example. I'm sorry. What I'm trying to say is, if you can see the behavior of somebody doing stuff that's linked with sex, that is addictive cycle, that they keep on doing, knowing that it's still going to affect their lives and other people, if it's stuff where basically where they can say, or where you can say, I admitted that I am powerless over addictive sexual behavior and that my life has become unmanageable. Unmanageable being you just do not have control over your own shit, but you still keep on doing it.
Yeah.
I think,
that's a sort of a...
That middle part, which I was like wobbling on, shut that out. If we can, that's what I want to say. If you can see that with yourself or with someone that's that tip of the iceberg, go and answer those questions.
Yeah.
And if you feel that you have a problem, and that it's that point where you just feel everything is unmanageable, and you feel like the shit is just landed all around you, and you can't get out.
Yeah.
And you can see that it is linked with forms of sexuality.
Yeah.
It's okay. There is a way out, and there will be links in our description. Of phone numbers and groups, and you can mail us as well if you want to. I think my heart is just saying, if you feel that's you or someone there is a way out. This is a step out. You can be helped, and it's okay.
Awesome. That's a good way to end it.
Done.
Guys, this has been the Spaghetti Junction podcast. My name is Bruce.
Yeah, my name is Gareth.
Like, comment, subscribe, and share. We'd love to hear your engagement in the comments.
Please, guys.
Down below, just tell us what you think.
Yeah.
Let us know your thoughts on this podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
Man. It's a serious subject. We know there are a lot of people out there that are struggling with this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it'll be great to connect with you, and hopefully some of these links will also help you. Maybe some of this information has been new to you, makes you feel a bit better about possibly your situation and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Awesome. And we will catch you guys in the next one.
Thank you, guys. See you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.